Tonight, 1 dead and 8 injured after a disqualified learner driver slams into a minibus full of elderly passengers.
Former Bandidos boss Toby Mitchell avoids jail after punching a man who was his biggest fan.
Commuters facing a Friday nightmare as strikes threaten transport turmoil next week.
And state-of-the-art selling as the Premier spends millions pushing Victoria to the world.
This is 10 Eyewitness News, first at 5, with Stephen Quartermain and Candice Wyatt.
Good evening. Also tonight, an elderly woman's terrifying home invasion nightmare.
First tonight, a high-speed head-on collision between a car and a minibus load of elderly people has left one woman dead and others injured. The dead woman was with 6 other dementia sufferers on a day out on the Mornington Peninsula, but it turned to tragedy when a disqualified learner slammed into them. Police reporter Chanel Vella has more.
Frail and frightened, amid the chaos, elderly passengers were carried to waiting ambulances.
And I heard
everyone receives the support and the counselling they need to get through this tragedy. Stephen?
Chanel Vella reporting from the Alfred.
Former bikie enforcer Toby Mitchell has been fined $1,000 for punching a man who claimed to idolise him. Mitchell served 6 months behind bars on remand after the man told police he threatened to kill him and his baby daughter. Emma O'Sullivan was in court.
Toby Mitchell didn't comment on his latest brush with the law.
6 months in jail, but you don't seem bitter. Why is that?
After serving time in 23-hour lockdown, he was released.
Number one.
Brand Victoria will also seek to lure foreign investment from both China and India.
Well, now here's Brad looking ahead to tonight's sport.
And Brad, Buddy Franklin's really struggling.
He certainly is, Stephen. He's been ruled out of Friday night's match against Collingwood. The Magpies, however, could welcome back a big name forward of their own. Darren Lehman apologises for his team's Ashes disaster. The Southern Stars fight back. And we've seen plenty of clangers on the soccer field over the years. This effort from the Mariners keeper is right up there.
Thanks, Brad. Coming up after the break. The end of the spin cycle for dangerous washing machines.
And factory workers walk off the job, demanding a pay rise after a huge company profit. This is 10 Eyewitness News. A woman has been found dead after an out-of-control blaze burned through her Dandenong house. Firefighters wore breathing masks to search the smoke-filled property and found the woman, aged in her 50s, unconscious.
They dragged the victim from the house and commenced life-saving techniques on it, but were unsuccessful in saving the life.
The street was cordoned off as detectives and emergency services investigated the blaze. They say there are no suspicious circumstances.
More Australians are living with chronic illness than ever before, despite the billions of dollars taxpayers have forked out over the years. A new report has revealed some shocking realities about the health of our nation. Matt Moran has more.
56-year-old Louise battles with 2 chronic illnesses, arthritis and type 2 diabetes.
We've really seen good contributions right across the businesses.
The record profit follows an admission by the bank that it has been double charging some of its credit card customers.
Coming up after the break. The damning video revealing the black teenager shot by police was carrying a gun.
And the remarkable new blood cancer drug that's saving lives.
Welcome back. ISIL is now actively urging potential jihadis not to join them overseas in Syria and Iraq, but to instead carry out lone wolf attacks at home. The disturbing change in tactic was uncovered by British journalists who helped foil a plot to kill the Queen. Elisa Throden reports.
Iraq and Syria are increasingly deadly places for an Islamic State fighter. US airstrikes...
It's been well managed. The community's been very, very responsible, but at one point we're worried that our luck will run out.
Elisa Throden, 10 Eyewitness News.
Investigators believe they may have found Russian missile fragments at the MH17 crash site in eastern Ukraine. The items were found during a previous inspection of the area and are thought to be part of a surface-to-air missile used by the Russian military.
We found seven pieces which we established that they would.
And the good news is that tour should be back on next year. Angela Bishop, 10 Eyewitness News.
Well, now here's Mike with today's weather details.
Yes, thank you, Candice, and a very good evening. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? Well, it's been a funny old day today, not nearly as wet or as cool as expected. In fact, our top rainfall reading around suburban Melbourne, 1.5 mils, ironically at sunshine when there wasn't a lot of it. Okay, we actually got to 15 degrees, which is about average for this time of year. More showers tonight and tomorrow, and again tomorrow, not a lot of sunshine. Well, behind me here on Station Pier, these containers contain creative contemporary art, inside and out. The 6 shipping containers have been transformed into a series of artwork called Art Contained, featuring works from the Australian Academy of Design and Multicultural Arts Victoria, painted exteriors and, well, lit interiors, but they do look so much brighter at night. I can hardly contain myself. More weather in half an hour. Stephen.
Thanks, Mike. Next, the beer company that claims a pot or two is not as bad for you as you think. And the high-tech collar dubbed the Fitbit for your dog. This is 10 Eyewitness News. Doctors are winning the fight against a deadly form of blood cancer with a breakthrough drug trial, saving the lives of people previously considered terminally ill. Amazingly, a third of those being treated have gone into full remission, and even the experts are astounded. Here's Trent Dan.
Philip Green has been fighting multiple myeloma, a rare form of blood cancer, for 4 years. But since beginning a clinical trial at the start of the year, he's back on the tools, pain-free. Doctors say while the results are remarkable, it could be years before the drug hits the shelves. Trent Dan, 10 Eyewitness News.
A pay dispute between pharmaceutical giant CSL and its workers has spilled onto the streets of Broadmeadows. Factory staff braved the rain, walking off the job for 4 hours, demanding CSL share its global net profit of $1.4 billion.
It makes us feel worthless. It feels like the money's going to the directors, to the board, and not to the workers that are actually making the profits.
Staff want a 4.5% increase, but CSL is offering 3.25%. It says any more would jeopardise the company's Australian operation.
A major Australian brewer is breaking new ground, putting nutritional information on all of its beer. The makers of 4X, among other brands, say it wants to bust the image of beer being bad for us. Jessica Turner has the story.
A cold beer is part of the Australian way of life for many, but we don't like what comes with it.
I hate the term. If their campaign is successful, the collars could be on the market by the end of the year. Joe Hill, 10 Eyewitness News.
Now let's unleash Brad with sport.
Thank you, Stephen. There's major selection news ahead of Friday night's Collingwood Swans game. The Blues desperate to avoid the wooden spoon. Rod Marsh labels our Ashes batting deplorable, while Darren Lehmann says sorry. A debutant saves the day for the Southern Stars. Nick Kyrgios back to his winning ways. And he may have missed out on joining the Miami Heat dance team, but this enthusiastic chap has become an internet sensation. Good evening. Collingwood is continuing its push for the AFL to tighten its illicit drug code. And there's major selection news ahead of Friday night's match at the SCG. As Rob Waters reports, there could be a big inclusion for the Magpies, while there'll definitely be a big name missing for the Swans.
Collingwood has struggled without Travis Cloke, but he's making a strong case to play against Sydney Friday night. But it's the fate of suspended duo Josh Thomas.
Didn't make the team, but he has become an internet sensation, and he's also danced his way to our play of the day. Did you know Run the World Girls, Stephen?
Girls Run the World.
Is it?
Yeah, is it?
Run the World Girls.
Beyonce.
I'm not that familiar with it.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have kids, mate, then you'll...
Oh, thank you, Stephen.
Time for another look at the traffic with Jimmy.
Thanks, Stephen. Just hovering over South Bank this evening, having a look at some temporary access that's been opened. Now, CityLink have opened Power Street access into the Burnley Tunnel, which is normally closed, as you can imagine. And this is all to ease some of the congestion due to the closures of the Kingsway off-ramp. It's just coming through to the top of screen there now. You can access the on-ramp to get into the Burnley Tunnel off Power Street, just near City Road. As you can see, it's pretty quiet. No one's used to it yet, but hopefully that will ease access tomorrow morning. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Jimmy. Mike's back after the break with the weather details. And another big bash hitting the road to raise funds for a great cause. Welcome back. They say variety is the spice of life, and this time the 25th Variety Bash is bound for Port Douglas to raise money for children in need. The Smurfs, Big Bird and superheroes are among more than 300 generous Aussies who took off in 100 jazzed-up cars.
So we usually raise well over $1 million, which is fabulous. So it really helps out with those kids.
The Variety Bash has been running since 1985, when entrepreneur and philanthropist Dick Smith came up with the idea.
A very worthy cause. Now here's Mike with the weather.
Yes, thank you, Stephen. Good evening once again. Just a few very light spots of rain, to be realistic, today, and a few light spots of rain on the way again tonight and tomorrow. But how's this? Since records began back in 1855, rainfall has been recorded on this date, August 12, more than 50% of the time, including today. So more often than not, it'll actually rain on this date again next year. Who cares? Let's have a look at some photos that have been sent to Mike Speaks at network10.com.au. First up from, well, it's fairly Pritchard, this wonderful photo of the Geelong waterfront. And from Malcolm Fordham, is this the first taste of an early spring? Wattle blossoming by the Yarra in Ivanhoe. So 10 degrees, but it was a very mild start to your day. 15 degrees the maximum, about the average for this time of year, and that occurred at 2:20. Outside right now, 11 degrees, feels like 9. The humidity is 66%, and that wind is a very light southwesterly. Around town, well, the best falls of rain around Melbourne, just 1.5 millimetres, but most rainfalls were under half, including just 0.2 in the city. Okay, across our state, can we do that? Yep. Okay, across our state. And although rain has been widespread, it hasn't been very heavy. Overnight up to 9 millimetres at Wedderburn near Bendigo. Today up to 10 millimetres at Mount Tassie, then 7 at Port Fairy. Around Australia, up in Brisbane, it is Eka. A warm 28-degree day today before thunderstorms rolled in later in the afternoon. 5 millimetres so far, with storms up there tonight. Sydney, 17 degrees. West of Sydney, snow on the Blue Mountains and Orange. Canberra, freezing, only 7 degrees today with 4 mils falling. The weather charts, a lowest cross in Victoria this evening, a new high developing over the Bight later tomorrow for a mostly dry weekend, warming up on Sunday. A look at the rainfall chart. Now, in the past 24 hours, 38 millimetres has saturated the South Australian Eyre Peninsula. This rain cloud, though, petering out before making it here. Interstate tomorrow over to Adelaide, 15 degrees, the rain starting to ease. Hobart 12, Canberra warming right up to 13. Sydney is only 19, Brisbane 22. Across our state with the new state logo, the Big V is back. Morning fog patches in the north. Isolated showers mainly over southern and mountain districts. Cool, mostly cloudy with moderate west-southwesterly winds. The radar chart, well, this shows scattered showers mainly either side of Melbourne, moving east-northeastwards. And there is a strong wind warning for the Gippsland coast tomorrow. Around Melbourne, Frankston 8 to 12, Geelong 6 13, Mount D 4 to 8. On the bays, westerly winds of 10 to 15 knots on a 1 metre swell. Another forecast for our city by the bay. Showers this evening into the morning, down to around 7 degrees before a top of 13. West-southwesterly winds, back to 9 degrees, tending west-northwesterly. On to Friday, 7 to 15 degrees and 15 on Saturday. That is our weather. See you tomorrow night. Stephen.
Thank you, Mike. And that is 10 Eyewitness News for this Wednesday.
Family Feud's up next.
On behalf of the news team,
take care.
Good night.